All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Healy for Beginners and Beyond for Thursday, February 2nd, 2023. I'm Jake Barron, Head of Operations for the Americas, and I'm going to be your host today. And I have along with me Ken Close, our amazing co-host for today, product expert here at Healy, engineer, and many, many other things. So Ken, welcome. Welcome to the call. And also, sorry, Ken, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Jake. Appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and we also, in our chat today, you'll find Anthony from our amazing tech support team. He's listed there under Healy Tech Support. So throughout the call, as Ken and I are talking about different things, if you have any questions, Anthony should be able to help you out there and point you in the right direction along the call too. So for those of you that have never been on a Healy for Beginners and Beyond call, we typically, we have these calls usually around once a month, and then the recordings are available on our YouTube page at HealyAmericas.com. If you have not checked out that site, please do so. And we have an agenda for this call. We go through several different topics. Each call is a different topic. When we have new content, new things to discuss, that's when we have our next edition of Healy for Beginners and Beyond. So unlike Tech Tip Tuesday, I know a lot of you joined that call as well. Tech Tip Tuesday is an open chat-based call where we have no real agenda. We just go based off the questions that are added or asked in the chat. This call, you can still ask those questions. We'll try to help out with as many as we can in the chat, but we're going to cover all these topics that we have on the agenda. And today, this is the first. We have a top 10 list that we're going to go through here. Top 10 FAQs and things that all Healy users need to know. So, we've answered, I think last year we answered over 700 questions on Tech Tip Tuesday. It was a ton of questions, and certain things keep coming up. So we said, okay, yes, those recordings are available on our YouTube page, but let's do one 1 hour just packed episode of all these questions that keep coming up over and over again. So that way we can reference everybody back to this one call. And these topics here, if you can master these topics, you're pretty good to go. You might not ever need to submit a support ticket ever in your journey with Healy. So even if you're brand new, which I know a lot of you on this call are, if you've been with Healy for a couple of years, I think you'll find some things on this call that maybe you didn't know, and they're important to know. So we're going to go ahead and get started, work through this agenda, starting with, I'm not going to read through the whole thing here. It's on the screen, but we're going to go through, and we're going to do a lot of screen sharing today. So we're not just going to discuss this verbally. We're going to show you how these things look on our different devices, and how to kind of interact with your Healy device. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we're going to get started here with question number one, or topic number one, which is, when you first get your Healy, you can adjust that intensity all the way up, starts at 5% all the way up to 100%. What intensity should you use? And also, some people may not know that, the Healy, how to switch from low to high and from high to low current setting as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that right away. I'm going to switch over to my phone, actually. So let me do that, and we'll start sharing from there. Okay.
I love this topic because this is actually really one of the most popular ones that we get on the Tech Tip Tuesday. And there's quite a bit of information to be able to kind of give people that's relevant to this particular subject.
Exactly. So, let me minimize this. Okay, so first thing I wanted to cover with everybody here is, how many people on this call know that there's two different configurations, low current and high current, for your Healy device? So every device is by default ships at low current. So, and that is because some people are very sensitive to microcurrent, and we want everybody to be able to use their Healy device and be comfortable using their Healy device. So rather than set it at high and have people be like, well, this is a little bit too much for me, we strip it at low, and we give you the option to go from low to high. So And this is an important point because a lot of people do end up switching from low current to high current. So maybe somebody that introduced you to Healy, they let you borrow a device. There's probably a good chance that they had that device set to a high current setting. But then when you get yours, you're like, maybe I'm not feeling the same effects or the same intensity, that kind of a thing. Maybe I'm having trouble getting a good connection. So we're gonna show you, if you want to, first how you change from low to high, and then we're gonna go into the Healy 2 app and show you how to adjust the intensity and why you need to adjust the intensity for certain programs to make sure you're getting proper connectivity there. So there's a question. I said, how do you find this screen? So let me start at the beginning. I'm going to hard close. That's another thing we're going to cover later today, hard closing. But in your Heal Advisor app is actually where you go to adjust the intensity. So that's the one where we call sort of the wave app. It's got the 3 different colored lines going across the screen there at the top right on my Healy section here. So Heal Advisor app. When you first open this for the first time, this app is available to everybody, even if you don't have any subscriptions or anything like that. Everybody has access to the section that we're going to show you here. So you open up Heal Advisor. First time you'll need to log in with your same username, email address, and password that you do to all of our other Healy apps and platforms. So it's going to sync your data real quick here. And then if you have subscriptions, these are where they all live, whether it's biometricalization, DNA, Heal Advisor Search, Natural Cycle. But we're actually just going to go to the bottom right. You'll see there's an icon that says Settings. So we're going to click on that. We're going to click on My Healy. And so this is that screen that I showed you earlier. So where you can adjust from low to high. So every Healy device that's assigned to your account will show up on this page. And you'll see I have a million devices here because there's so many demo devices assigned to my particular account. But the very first device I have listed here, you'll see that's my main Healy device. That's the one I've had for over 2 years now. And actually, I normally have mine set to high current, but just for this demonstration, I went ahead earlier and I switched it to low current, just so I can show you what the process is. Because when you first get your Healy, you first go to the Heal Advisor app and go to the section, it's going to say low current. So what do? All you do is you click that pink button here that says switch, and then this message is going to pop up that says, do you want to change the current level of your Healy? And it explains again why. Some people, the intensity might be a little bit too much, so that's why we have a low current variant. But read through that. And if you want to make that switch, just click the I've read and understood. The safety instructions, click continue, and then click yes. There's a little video here, but it actually links back to our old app. This video is going to be updated. So we're actually going to show you the process of how to check for updates in the new app, the new Healy 2 app. So we're just going to click yes. And then you'll notice here it says processing, please check back later. In general, this process to switch configurations can take up to an hour or so. It usually happens instantly. So we're going to see. So we're going to switch over now to the Healy 2 app. I actually have mine open and running now. So I am just going to push up here, go to the Healy app. I'm running one of my favorite programs right now, Pure. But we're going to pause this. Actually, we're actually going to stop it, quit this program. And then from the Healy 2 app, which is, on your app screen here, it's the top left here, the pink waves underneath. We're going to go to the settings again, bottom right, just like in the Heal Advisor. And then, I'm actually going to go to, and I'm going to show you the process to manually check for updates. So I had the app open already. So actually, let me just close it up for you. Let's see if that update will pop up right from the beginning. If not, I'm going to show you how to manually check for updates here. So we're going to go back, connect to my device, and we'll just see if you open it for the first time, if that update will pop up. Okay, click continue. It did not, you'll see there. So normally, if the update is already available on your device, at the very top, underneath where it says program groups, you're going to see a little blue bar is going to say update now, and then you're going to go through that process. But again, a lot of times it can take up to an hour. But for this one, I'm going to show you if that doesn't happen, how you can manually check. So you just click settings, MagHealy, and then next to the program version, you're going to see an arrow pointing to the right. If you click on that arrow, you'll see the little circle starts to spin, and that's showing that it's actually checking for updates. So we're going to see here, just give it a minute to see if it'll pop up. If not, no big deal, and we'll continue on. But this is the process that you do after you go to the Healy Advisor app, change the configuration. You have to load the update in the Healy 2 app for that configuration to change. And again, sometimes it's instant, sometimes it takes a little bit longer. So let's just see here. And while we're looking at this page, you'll see there's a configuration, and you see it's Healy 6.0 STS. Without even going to the Healy Advisor app, you can actually just go to your settings. And if your device says STS, that means that it's set to low current. When it's set to high current, it's SPS. So that's one thing that you can check there too. Another section that you can do that with. So we're just going to, Ken, anything to add on this page while we're waiting for this update to pop up?
No, not really. You guys, you went through the stuff pretty well. And I do want to point out that the differentiation between the high current and low current settings, the purpose that Healy originally designed that for was because of different wristbands and the way that they actually implemented the current flow into the body. So also, though, some people are more sensitive than others in terms of current flow through the body. And as Jake mentioned earlier, the ability to change this allows for the diversity within different body types. Even though we're at high setting here, you still have full manual control over that current output of the Healy device. So you can actually set it very low. Even if the manual setting here is on high, you can still down regulate that output and be comfortable with yourself.
Yeah, and as you were talking, Ken, you'll see our little update button popped up here. So that's what it looks like when you manually check for an update. After it finishes the process of checking. If there is an update available, this is where it will appear. And if I go back to the main program page, well, actually, since I had the app open already, it's not going to show up at the top there. But if I were to close this app, open it again, it would show up there. But we're just going to load that update from here. Click on that update. It's going to pull up the information down from the cloud to load that new configuration. It just takes a couple seconds. And you'll see, okay, it says update completed. The device configuration is now up to date. You'll notice now in the configuration that STS changed to SPS. So that's where you can kind of also confirm that, yes, that high current configuration is now listed on my device. So it's pretty simple. Again, sometimes it can take up to an hour. You'll see here, it just took a couple minutes for that to actually load onto the device there. And then now when we go to run a program, let's just go back to just run Pure again. And, I was running this earlier, so it didn't actually need to load the program. It just needs to start it up now. And it came back to the intensity I had that before. But the question, of course, is what intensity should I run this program at? And, really the answer is it varies from person to person. That's why there is not actually an intensity recommended range within the Healy app manual. So you notice for the MagHealy, there's certain percentages listed. But for the Healy 2 app, it varies so much. Some people at 5% at low current configuration, they might feel some tingling in their hands and okay, this is enough for me. Other people might be at high current running at 100%. So there's a huge range. And also it can vary from day to day just for the same individual. You might run this Pure program at 75% today, and then a couple of days later, you run that Pure program at 75%, and it might be a little bit too intense for you. You might need to knock it down. Maybe you're more well hydrated than you were the day before. Now, Ken, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about hydration and the importance of that here too, because it varies so much. And so really the intensity, you want it to be something that you're comfortable with. It doesn't matter what your friend's using it at or what your upline or your downline says to use for them. That's what's perfect for them. What you want to do is for you is what's comfortable. So in general, a lot of times we say just increase it to an intensity where you might start to feel a slight tingle and then knock it down one notch from there. Because you may think that feeling that sensation means that it's working or that it's good, but you don't actually need to feel anything for the microcurrent to be doing their job. And actually, Ken, you may want to talk a little bit here about how that can actually hinder it, because your body might be pushing back against it, this foreign sensation.
Exactly. So let's, I want to cover a couple of things here. First of all, you're seeing on the screen the different frequencies being applied in real time. And any of these frequencies that are roughly below 500 hertz. So you see 859 hertz right here. Anything below about 500 requires a little more energy to wander through the body, because again, it's what's called closer to density. The density of matter is a very low vibrational frequency. And so to get these frequencies through the body, sometimes we need a higher current flow in order to get conductivity. You're seeing a waveform go across the screen, simply verifying that we actually have conductivity, meaning electron flow from one electrode to the other. In other words, wherever you're connected, whether it be wristbands or sticky pads, when you're physically connected to the body, this electron flow needs to be measured and verified. And that's what's going on right here, is it's measuring and verifying that waveform across the screen is showing that there is electron flow. If Jake was to unplug one of his leads from his wrist,
I'll do that right now. So I unplugged one of them, and you'll see here, and actually Jen put this question into the chat. So perfect timing there. So yep. What does it mean when a frequency is generated, but there's no measurable current flowing? So
there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
So there you go. So that's basically showing you that that it's measuring in real time the effectiveness of the output. In other words, is it going through this entity I'm connected to, or is it not? And this says it's not. And so we reconnect and we reaffirm that connection.
You put that back up, and you'll see that goes away, and that frequency wave starts flowing again. So it's. Again, it varies from program to program, depending on the frequency. It can, kind of as you were talking, some programs might contain lower frequencies, which you can actually feel more. It takes more power to get to deliver those frequencies, and you can also feel it. Might be like a pulsing sort of sensation, depending on where it's at. But the higher frequencies, you're not going to feel at all. So that's why you could be running the pure program at 75% for the first few minutes and feel nothing at all. Then all of a sudden it starts delivering some of these lower frequencies, and you might need to turn it down a little bit along the way.
So let's cover a couple of principles here that are critical. Number one is, again, like I mentioned, the frequencies below 500 hertz are going to take a little more of the intensity setting in order for it to go through the matter. So I suggest that you watch the program for a while and adjust the intensity or the output according to those lower frequencies. So number two, how are we connected physically to the body? So sometimes in certain regions of the planet, certain times of the year, it's colder. And so people tend to put moisturizers and creams and things on their skin and their body, which hinder the connection between the wristbands or the electrodes and the skin. So having a clean surface for these electrodes to be connected to, as well as what I like to do is I like to moisten my wrists wherever I'm putting these wristbands. I moisten it with some water. You can spray it with a little bit of, put a little conductive gel, whatever is going to help you to make connection. So then thirdly is we want to make sure that the body itself is properly hydrated and properly mineralized, essentially electrolytes. Just 3% of dehydration within the body hinders the neurological process of information flow, as well as muscle function. A lot of things within the body are decreased by dehydration. So a formula for what's proper hydration would be half your body weight in ounces of water per day. Spread that out through the day. It's not that big, but just take your body measurement and weight, half that in ounces. If you're 100 pounds, that's 50 ounces a day of water, as well as have a electrolyte regimen, which are minerals. The body is a mineral engine. So essentially this is going to help you in other ways as well. And lastly, the body's own sensitivity is critical here, because if you're uncomfortable and you have this current flow up to the point where you're actually feeling sensations, tinglies, pinching, any kind of surging or whatever, your awareness or your mind goes to that particular area to analyze whether you're safe or not safe. That puts the body in a semi state of fight or flight. And Healy and its microcurrent, microcurrent in general is designed to be subliminal, designed to be below conscious thought, below the alert of the cell structures. So if you've got this thing pulsating and you're feeling these jerks and uncomfortable, too high a setting, you're actually diminishing the effectiveness of this frequency and this microcurrent application. So hopefully that makes sense in terms of those 4 points, and then of course, making sure that you're in tune to your body.
Yep.
All right.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not more is better, less is more. In this case, just because you can feel the intensity and you can fight through it, that's not a good thing. That's not a matter of being able to handle that much current or intensity. And Ken, I know one of the questions that came out recently, when you're adjusting the intensity, you're adjusting the power behind delivering the frequency. You're not amplifying the actual frequency itself. It's the power to deliver it, right?
Exactly. Understand that what we're adjusting here, intensity is the amplitude of the current flow. And this is what we also know as electron flow. So electron flow is literally an energy, a current flowing through the body. And you're adjusting the amplitude of that. And that electron flow is simply the carrier wave, or I like to call it the pail in which the frequencies are transported on. So it's a carrier wave. So you're not changing the amplitude of the frequency, you're changing the amplitude of the carrier. So in other words, the pail itself is just getting bigger and more capacity, but you're not putting more in it. Okay, so it's just simply the frequencies remain the same. They have the same effectiveness. It's just that we want to make sure they're carried throughout the systemic system, the whole body, by shifting and adjusting the intensity of this current flow to enable that wave to be there instead of the line that says it's not getting any kind of amplitude. So again, remember, the frequencies are still having the effectiveness in the body because we're seeing this proper conduction from one side to the other.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. So actually, while I'm going to go out of order slightly on this, but one of the other questions is how many programs, not only how do I adjust the intensity, how many programs can I run per day? Because I'm just going to go back to the main screen. I'll pause this. We'll go back. Actually, I'll quit. And then when you get Healy, depending on which edition you have, say you got the professional edition, you have some over 200 programs, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, that one sounds good. That one sounds good. That one sounds, it sounds like I need that, or Healyvisor Analyzer telling me I need these and these and these. But in general, the recommendation you'll see in our first steps document is that, 3 per day. And that doesn't mean that you have to run 3 per day to start with Healy. Maybe you start with 1 per day to get used to using microcurrent. And maybe you're using a couple microcurrent programs with wristbands and maybe a Coil program when you're doing some sort of activity that you need to have your hands free, or you're mixing in the Coil with the MagHealy with running some vibration in the Analyze app. So it's, in general, the recommendation, of course, is 3 per day, but don't let that mean that you have to run 3 per day to get results. You don't. That's just again, it always comes down to your own body and how you feel. What's right for you is not necessarily right for the next person. So there's a wide range there, but just keep in mind, you don't have to rush into this. You don't have to run all these programs all at once. And Ken, also the importance of spacing them out. If you can run, let's just say 3 per day. Say you're running 3 per day. You don't run them back to back to back. You need to put some time in between each of these programs to give your body time to absorb and kind of fully utilize what was just given to it from all these other frequencies.
A principle around that concept is that understand our body is in space and time. So it's a material object that requires time to acclimate to influence, whether it be a new thought process, a chemical medication, a diet, or microcurrent frequency information. It requires time to acclimate to its effect. So the reason that Healy suggests no more than 3 per day is because that the body needs time, and the more things you throw at it, the harder it is to measure which one was most effective. In other words, if you were to have a diet of plant-based only today, go to a different low-carb diet tomorrow, and so on throughout the week, how would you know which particular diet was influencing your BMI or your body mass index? It'd be hard to tell because there's so much diversity thrown in a very short period of time. I suggest, I have what I call a self-care protocol, and the self-care protocol requires time spent in taking care of yourself between programs. That self-care protocol, of course, is like I mentioned, proper hydration for a day, the entire day. It takes time to drink that over the day's period. Number 2 is movement, making sure that you're spending about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes in between programs, moving the body. You can use yoga, you can use dance, you can use stretching, walking, whatever movement of the body, because you want to make sure that you're engaging this lymphatic system that helps to cleanse and move the detox process that you're doing with these programs. Number 3 is grounding. Spend time grounding 15 minutes to 20 minutes after each program. Again, this is going to start spacing the programs out from each other. So spending the time doing these things are going to be a very key principle in how you are able to fit these programs in your day. Grounding means that walking on the earth, if the ground is frozen, it's wintertime, whatever, there's grounding mats. There's many modalities in which you can ground yourself. Okay. Breathing is another part of this, breathing full breaths. And then, of course, having a mental attitude of falling in love with life is a very big one. So those are some of the key pieces of self-care in between each program.
Awesome. All right, so let's move on to the next question, which was earlier on, but what's the difference between using microcurrent, the coil, vibration, and the MagHealy? We have all these great products and great apps and the ability to use it. And they all work well together. There's not like, okay, this one clashes with this. It's all meant to be used as one perfect symphony, as we like to say in some of our materials here. But there's obviously the microcurrent is the one that's actually connected to your body. You can't deliver microcurrent with the MagHealy. You can't deliver microcurrent with the Coil or with the Analyze app. So that is certainly one of the big differences between the microcurrent, and it's not just any microcurrent. It's individualized microcurrent frequencies. It's frequency modulated microcurrent, which is one of the unique things that we have here at Healy over a lot of other companies that have some sort of electrical sort of device that it's individualized to you. We both run the same program. We're not going to get the same frequencies because everyone has a different need there. And then the coil, the coil generates quantum potential frequencies. We have some good material on that. And then you have the MagHealy, is the frequency modulated magnetic field. And they all kind of sound similar because they're all in the same sort of family, but they all operate in a slightly different way. And in fact, there's different benefits to each of them. So, what do you want to add on to?
Yeah, so look at these things in 3 different arenas. The first arena, as Jake said, is the microcurrent, which I mentioned, electron flow within the body. And the body is a conductive, it's a conductive material, just like a wire. When you would plug your extension cord into the wall outlet and you power some device on the other end, there is electron flow. The wire is the transport medium between the point of origin or the outlet and the point of consumption or the device you're powering. The moment you turn on the device you're powering, it starts to have electron flow. And this is the way that Healy interfaces from the tangible matter of body as well as the way it interfaces with the field of information, the quantum field. So these three modalities, one, the microcurrent, is sending this information through the body on very specific electron transport, and it oscillates at frequencies speaking to individual systems, tissues, organs, and cells in the body. And that's what the programs, different programs, like Jake said, over 200 programs, and they're relevant to whatever job they're trying to accomplish. Okay, they have content in there that propagates that job, the purpose it's being applied to the body. So microcurrent has its own studies, it has its own background, its own history, and its own effectiveness and understandings. And it's I would call it being more, even though it's not evasive, understand it is not an evasive type of application. But of the three modalities, it's the most evasive within the physical form, okay? Number two is the magnetic system, the magnetic wave system that Healy puts out, transmits with the coil. Understand that a magnetic wave propagates into the atmosphere from its epicenter or its origin, which is the coil or the MagHealy, or even when we're working with the information field, but that's in a minute. So magnetic energy propagates out omnidirectionally. It has no destination, really. It just propagates outward. It has no guidance, as where electron flow, it's connected to your body, has guidance from one probe to the other probe. Magnetic waves are everywhere, and they transmit out of the coil omnidirectionally to infinity. It's just that the amplitude of that signal nullifies a little bit by little bit by little bit based on the distance away from its origin. So your body, folks, your body is a standing, walking, talking antenna. So it has the ability to receive these magnetic frequencies, whether they're being transmitted from Healy or a radio transmitter up on some tower somewhere. Magnetic energy propagates across the world. And your body, because of its water, its mineral content, is a conductor. Those magnetic waves transport across the body and then input information into the body, and the body decodes that. So it's an antenna decoding this information. Just when the coil's putting out that data, the body's then decoding it. All right. So that's through magnetic energy. The third transport mechanism, which we're going to talk about a little bit more later, is the information field, or what's used with the blue dot. That really is only tied to a coordinates or destination called a client. This is why you put the client information in there. And when it's being transported, it is the intention of the signal that makes it or assists it in reaching its destination. So that's through the quantum field. So understand those three different modalities. We'll unpack those a little bit more maybe, but I want you to have that reference.
Yeah, exactly. We're so lucky to have all these different options available to us here at Healy. I mean, really, there's so much that you can do with it, and day to day you can customize your routine. It's really cool. So, okay, so Ken, let's switch over here to we showed earlier on the Healy 2 app the connectivity, but what's a good way to check to see if your electrodes and connection cables are working properly? Because sometimes maybe you're running a program and you put it all the way up to 100%, it says frequency is generated but no currents flowing, and it's like, well, what's going on? Am I not hydrated? Are my cables not connected right? Do I need to tighten my cables? Do I need to put them further up my arms? Like how do I know for sure if it's the cables or if it's me?
Exactly. I love this question because we get it quite often, and there's a very physical, tangible way of testing the Healy hardware. And I'm going to show you that. I'll share my screen. And as Jake showed earlier, when he was running a program, he showed that sometimes it was getting conduction, sometimes it was not. So I'm going to pull up again the pure program, which is again one of my favorites, and show you a little bit about first of all, how do we test? So as you see here on the screen right now, the program is running, but it has no measurable current flow through the body. So again, that's got that message right there at the bottom. This is the key piece of information. With the old app, it's different. So we're only talking about the new app here, folks. And so I want you to understand how the new app works, and this is how it works. So it's saying that a frequency is generated, but no measurable current flow in the body, essentially. So here's my Healy. You guys can see on the screen, it's running, and I have it connected via the wires to wristbands. Well, guess what? There's no current flow because these wristbands are not on my body. But here's a quick test. By connecting the wires to your wristbands, you can take and start a program, and then you take these two wristbands and the opposite side of the plugs, okay, where the wires connect to the plugs, to the wristbands, the opposite side, the part that touches your skin, is the conductive side. So if you take those two conductive sides, watch, touch them together, pinch them together just like so, and they, let me, whoops, start my, there we go. As you see, it takes a few seconds, but you'll see that now it's showing that there's current flow because I'm simply touching those two together, right? Just as and if I move it around a lot, it's going to lose conduction. But the point is now you're seeing this conductive flow. You can actually turn the intensity up if you want. You see I'm increasing the intensity. It works pretty much with most of the frequencies. The lower frequencies are going to have a bit, again, those lower frequencies are going to have a bit more need for higher power. But this is a good way to test, okay? You can even moisten the connections here on the wristbands and then touch them together. It increases conductivity, and you can give this hardware a quick little test to see, are we getting a conduction or not? There's other tests with the sticky pads. I just wanted to show you this one. Makes it really simple. If you're not sure if it's you or if it's the hardware, well, to eliminate being the hardware, here's how you test. Touch those together, and you get a current flow.
Yeah, and if you say you determine that you have a bad cable, something like that, you want to order a new pair, possibly from our shop, don't throw both of the other ones out. Make sure you test it again when you get them to make sure you're only throwing out the one that's bad, because usually it's just one of them, that might have, something may have gotten, caught it on something or whatever, but keep the other one. That way you'll have one as a spare too, going forward.
Yeah, in order to test, to find out which cable is bad, which one is not, when you do get your new cables, disconnect one cable at a time, do this test again. And if you still don't have conductivity, then replace it with the new cable. If you do get conductivity, then it's that particular cable, right? It's a process of elimination. But you want to make sure that you start with your old cables that are not working, replace one at a time, doing this same test. And when you finally do replace the one that's defective, then you'll get this waveform across the screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't stop sharing your screen yet, Ken, but I also want to say, someone had a question about, while we're talking about the cables, ordering a new pair. Just keep in mind, when you order the cables from the shop, they're sold as a single cable, not as a pair. So if you want a pair, make sure you order two. We sell them as a single because sometimes someone knows already exactly which cable is messed up, and then they just need one. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I've had that same issue. I'm very active, and I wear my Healy doing everything I do. And so, like Jacob said, I have caught mine on different things, ripped them apart. I've done all kinds of stuff. Those are obvious. The ones that you tear apart, obviously, it's going to show that they're not conductive. However, these cables themselves, inside the wires or inside this outer coating, there are wires, small wires, and they can break because of the constant flexing or constantly tugging. They can break inside and lose conductivity. And so you can't see it physically on the outside, but electronically on the inside, they're no longer conductive.
Okay. All right. So yeah, great. Let's move on to our next question here. And that is a hard reset process and basic battery troubleshooting. So you may have heard someone say, oh, I did a hard reset, or I did this and this. So what exactly does that mean? So I'm just going to show here I have another Healy that I'm not using right now, but I'm going to just hold it up to the camera here, and we're going to see, So, okay, so let's see if you can see, there's on the Healy device, there's only two lights. There's a Bluetooth light and then there's a power light. So this device is unplugged right now. You can do a hard reset, either unplugged or plugged in. I'm gonna show first how it looks unplugged, but basically just hold that power button down for about 10 seconds. And then you'll see the green light come on after about 10 seconds. It'll come on solid. Let's see if we can get this. See, and then I let go, stays on for a couple seconds, then it goes off. That is essentially a hard reset. But what does that mean? So after you do a hard reset, it's not, your battery's not, okay, properly calibrated. You just reset everything, all of your settings. If you had sound turned off or whatever, all those kind of things, I have to do that again. But you're going to want to, if you're having battery issues, maybe the sensor seems to be off between your what's displayed in the app and how many programs you're actually getting. You do a hard reset. You're going to want to charge it right away. Make sure it's fully charged, and then for 2 or 3 more times, do a full charging cycle. Fully deplete the battery, fully charge the battery, fully deplete the battery, fully charge the battery. Don't turn it off and then plug it back in at 60%. Make sure it goes all the way down until it no longer can work. And then try that again. So that's you can do that you can do a hard reset while it's on it, but also let's say there's no power at all to it. There's not even enough power for that green light to come on, or to even indicate that it needs to be charged. You know, if the battery is really low, that light flickers a few times after you push the power button. So if you plug this in, I'm just going to use, this is a longer USB, micro USB cable that I have. Well, another thing, you know, if you lose the cable that comes with your Healy device, there's nothing proprietary about that one. You can use any standard micro USB cable as well. So if you need a longer one, you know, there's a million of these available. You probably have a bunch sitting around your house too, that from other things. So I actually just plugged it in. You'll see when you plug in your Healy device, this green light sort of might be hard to see on the camera, but it flickers a little bit faintly as you're charging. But if you do a hard reset while it's plugged in, you'll see after about 10 seconds, that green light, instead of being very faint, it gets a little bit brighter for a few seconds. So I'm going to do it now. So just push that button. And you'll see here after about 10 seconds.
The reason that Jake did that first with it unplugged is to give you a mental reference and a physical reference as to how long you actually have to hold that button, because with it plugged in, not really going to see that physical.
Yeah, it was probably hard to tell on the camera, but it did after about 10 seconds. It got a little bit brighter, and then I let go, and it went back to the faint, sort of faintly flickering as it's charging there. So again, same thing, you want to leave that plugged in until that green light goes off. It means that it's fully charged, and then go through those charging cycles again to make sure that the battery sensor, you know, that's linked in with your app is properly calibrated.
Correct. So again, what are we trying to accomplish here? Understand that the little battery life indicator that's in the app is simply an algorithm. It's not, there's no physical thing connected between the app on the phone and the Healy to give the app on the phone some battery voltage indication. So it's using an algorithm. It's using a part of the program to calculate, and it needs to set a baseline first. And so when you first charge your Healy, you know, when you first get your Healy, I've heard people say you need to plug it in for 12 hours or for, you know, 1 hour, whatever. It literally 90 minutes is the official recommended time, or until the light goes off. That's typical. Depending, as Jake said earlier, depending on the wall adapter, the box that's plugged into the wall that you're using, that's going to have a different current output. So the lower the current output of that box, some of those are only what we call a 0.5 amp or 500 milliamps. They're going to take much longer to charge versus one that's, say, 1.5 amps or 1500 milliamps. So you're going to be putting more power into it. So it's going to take a shorter period of time to get that battery to full life. And that green light goes off based on a comparator circuit. In other words, when the battery matches the input charger, that voltage matches, then the light goes off. Okay. So You don't need to plug it in for 12 hours. It's not that it's going to hurt it, but just watch that green light. 90 minutes is typical, and then you're ready to go.
Yep, for sure. Okay, so next part here, I'm gonna share my screen again for this next question, but it's how do I hard close an app and properly switch between Healy apps? So while I'm doing that, Ken, maybe you want to talk about why that's important to hard close an app.
Yeah, absolutely. So understand that our smart device, whatever these, either a tablet or a phone, whether it be an Android or iOS, these smart devices have limited resources. All right. They have a processor, a computer, what we call a CPU, and they have memory in which things can be stored. So when you use Healy is kind of a resource hungry system because there's a lot happening in the background that we're not aware of. It just looks like a regular app, but there's a lot happening in the background. So when we have multiple apps open on our smart device, it's consuming resources. So if you have your WhatsApp open, you have your Facebook open, you have your email app open, all of those things have refresh rates where they're constantly going to the website, bringing content in, and then refreshing the screen so you see the latest and greatest information, right? That all requires CPU resources, memory resources, screen activation resources, all of the resources on your smart device. So if you, let me put it this way. If you guys don't know how to hard close an app, I promise you have too many things running in the background right now. I'm just saying, because you've opened many apps over the last day or so, and you've probably got a lot of things running in the background. So just YouTube has some great videos on how to hard close an app on an Android or an iPhone. There's
Ken, I just put into the chat here 2 links. One's on how to hard close an app on Apple, and one how to hard close an app on Android. These ones have more images than they do videos, but as Ken mentioned, you can find a ton of these videos, but these are directly from Apple and directly from Google. So straight to the source.
Exactly. And I also know that, like I mentioned earlier, the memory resources on your smart device play a key role in the efficiency of the function of the Healy app. Well, not just Healy, but other apps as well. So I always recommend people that you have at least 25% or more of your memory resources available on your smart device. And there's ways you can go into your smart device and find out how much of the memory is being consumed by apps or, pictures of your family or videos or whatever. You can go in and take a look at the resource availability within your settings on your smart device. And there's, again, YouTube videos on how to do that if you don't know how. But again, having a minimum of 25% available will help the CPU resource availability to run Healy better. Okay.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to start sharing again. I'm just going to show just real quick on an Apple device in action here what we're talking about. So basically we have our devices on Apple. From the bottom you swipe up slightly and then you'll see what you have open come up. So I have a couple of things open here. I have the Zoom thing, I've got the Healy Advisor, I've got Healy app, the Safari, calendar, settings, camera, some music. So there's a lot of different things that are open. And, I feel like almost half the time that we ask someone about this or try to explain this, that there's not clear on the actual process. Maybe they got to the screen or they minimize it to the background, but it's still open somewhere. And this is going to lead us into our next question about how to use a Healy and a MagHealy at the same time, because you actually have to do a hard close process in order to link back up to the next device. But I'm just going to hard close. We'll close out the Healy Advisor app. So all I did, I swiped up from the bottom a little bit, and then you go scroll over to the direction you want for the app to close. And then you hold your finger on the app somewhere, and then you swipe up, and then it's gone. It's hard closed. It's no longer open or running in the background, anything like that. So the next time you open it up, you'll see, if I go to Healy Advisor, it's going to start at that main screen again. It's not going to take me back to where I was before. It's going to go through the whole process. And This is important also because for the Heal Advisor app can be open at the same time as, say, the Healy 2 app or the Analyze app, because you're not actually connecting with Bluetooth to your device when this app is open. The issue that a lot of people run into is that maybe they have the Analyze app open, they do an analysis, and it says, okay, these are your top 5 programs, and then they try to open immediately the program in the Healy 2 app. So they're connected via Bluetooth to the Analyze app, and now they're trying to connect via Bluetooth to the Healy 2 app, and that is where we get a lot of the Bluetooth troubleshooting issues, where people are saying, well, they're not getting the consistent connection, or one, I connected to one and then I lost connection, and maybe try to connect back to the other thing. So that's where it's important to hard close the app and then switch over to the one that you want to use next, not to have them both open at the same time.
A little technical information about the Healy Bluetooth. By the way, first of all, the Healy Bluetooth system, it uses what's called BLE, or Bluetooth Low Energy. It's the lowest possible transmitted Bluetooth signal within the system in order for it to actually be functional. So BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy, the actual Bluetooth output intensity is no more than what we would call kind of ambient interference. So it's unlike some of the other Bluetooth devices out there, you can tell their intensity by the range that it's advertised. So you have some earbuds that say, hey, we got 1,000 feet range, or we have, whatever that is. What it means is that the Bluetooth signal being transmitted by those earbuds are high amplitude. All right. Healy only has a 32-foot range, like 3 meters, right? It's a very short range. And if you're within walls of a house or inside or outside of a building or a car away from your device, it even negates that signal more. So it's only 32 feet max line of sight range between the Healy hardware and the smart device connected to it. And the significance of that is that you have very little 2.4 gigahertz energy being broadcast into your body. And again, it's more like just ambient interference with you, and that's not harmful. So the other thing that Jake was saying with the Bluetooth is that Bluetooth chip is very secure. Once it locks in on one of the apps, whether it be the pink app, in other words, the microcurrent app, or the Blue Dot app, once that app locks the Bluetooth signal in, it essentially turns it on within the hardware of the Healy. Nothing else can take it hostage. So no other device can hone in on your Healy and start taking over its action, because that Bluetooth chip is now digitally locked to the app in which it's being performed with. So you have to physically close one app. And I hear this all the time. This is on Tech Tip Tuesday. How come I can't connect? I just got done doing a scan on my analysis app and I can't connect to the microcurrent to implement the signal. Well, that's because you're still connected. You didn't hard close the old app. You just swiped it out of the way and opened the new one, right? And it's the Bluetooth chip is still hard connected to the Blue Dot app. You have to actually hard close that to release the secure lock, and then open the microcurrent app and run it from there. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so as we were talking about earlier, hard closing an app, I'm going to go back now and kind of show you if you want to run a MagHealy and a Healy at the same time, or 2 MagHealys, or whatever the case may be. So I have the Pure program running on the Healy that I'm wearing right now, and in order to do so, you actually just have to hard close this app completely. You'll see right now we're running Pure. We got about 49 minutes left here. I'm going to swipe up from the bottom a little bit, and then I'm going to get this app all the way out here. So it's closed. It's hard closed, but you'll see on my Healy device that the power light is still flickering. So that means that program is, the Bluetooth light's off. There's no Bluetooth because the Bluetooth connection's gone. That app is closed, but that power light's still going because the program is still running on my Healy device, and it's going to continue to run until that program finishes. But we're just going to show here, I'm going to get my MagHealy, and then I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to switch it to position. We'll go position 3 today, 2 or 3 just to turn it on. And then I'm going to open the Healy app again. So it's going to scan for devices. And then this time we're going to pick the MagHealy that I have here, which is this one ending in 3.3, rather than the one I was connected to before. And we're going to connect to this MagHealy, and then we're just going to, we'll just run a program or something here just to get this one going. I'm going to put on an atmosphere program. Let's just put on energy right now. I'm going to click start. And then that program's going to start going. And yeah, let's just put this up to, let's just say 50%. So that program is running. You'll see the MagHealy, the lights are all going on the sides here. You'll see that the Bluetooth light and the power light are both flickering as well. So this one is running just fine. So I'm going to, let's say, and you'll see also my Healy device, that power light's still flickering too. So you'll see that this program is still running. But let's just say, oh, the intensity was at 80%. It's a little bit too high now. Actually, it's delivering some low frequencies. I can feel a little bit too much. I want to knock that intensity down a little bit, or just see how much time is remaining on that program. So same thing. I'm actually going to hard close this program here. I'm going to hard close this. And you'll see I did that. I hard closed it. But you'll see here the lights on my MagHealy are still continuing to run. That program's still going. The power light's on, but not the Bluetooth light, because that Bluetooth connection is gone. But we're going to open up that Healy app again. And this time when we connect, we're going to connect to my Healy instead of the MagHealy. And we'll see what we get here. Should just take a couple seconds. Okay. Continue, pure, and then you'll see, remember when we left this program, it was 49 minutes left. You'll see now it says 46 minutes left. It continued to run while we went to the other program. The intensity is at 80%. So I could knock this down a couple notches if I wanted to. And again, same thing, if you wanted to switch back to the MagHealy to make any sort of adjustments, that's really the process to go back and forth. And once you've done it once, it's pretty simple. To do. It's just, you got to make sure you're properly hard closing out of the app in order to do that.
Another unique feature that, let's just say Jake was running this program, it got to the end of the program, and it's just sitting there in limbo essentially. You can then at the bottom of the screen, if you click on the gear, you can open MagHealy. Maybe we can demonstrate that, Jake, if you just stop that program as if it were over.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Top arrow up there. Yeah. So now let's just say it's over. It's done. It's completed. It's back to this screen here. By clicking that settings tab at the bottom and you go up to MagHealy, you can see there's another option where you can connect to another device. Yep. So here you can tap on that, and then it will look again, just like it did before. It says, yes, I want to disconnect from this one. It'll look again for all devices turned on. As long as the power's on, it'll find them and give you a list, and then you can choose a different one. But that's, again, another facet of this switching from one device to another.
Yeah, you'll see, I have the option here to connect again to the Healy that we just disconnected from, or I can go back to that MagHealy that's running this program right now and make a change to that program, those settings, whatever the case may be there. So
now remember, folks, that this is, we're demonstrating the new Healy 2 app here. This function and these features are not available on the old one. I've seen some questions in the chat about, hey, I'm only seeing a circle line on my app. I'm seeing different things than what we're seeing here. That's because you're not using the new Healy 2 app. And I recommend that everybody switch over to this new app, because this is the future. And currently there is no new blue dot app, just this one, the pink dot or microcurrent app. This is the future, and it's got so many better features that it's good. We want to switch over to that.
Yeah. So Ken, this next question, I love your answer to this one. You have an excellent way of explaining this. It's, how often should I do a new resonance analysis, and when do I need to record my vibration again?
Yeah, this is referring to the Blue Dot app, or the app in which we use primarily to connect to the information field. And this is an app utilizing intention, utilizing what I like to call a GPS coordinates. Each entity that is put in there as a client is a separate entity that has well, let's just call it universal GPS coordinates. And those coordinates are identified by some very specific physical traits. If we're talking about a human, a person is the client in there. So what do you put in there as the characteristics of this client? Well, their picture's in there, right? So that's part of the identification process. Their name is in there, right? So now you're narrowing down of all of the potential humans on the planet. Then now we have this picture with this name. Secondly, we put a birth date in there. That kind of starts to cosmically identify the person in space and time. We also put in there the location, the geographical space in which they were born. Gender is in there. And then also finally, we record a vibration, a vibrational signal. The Healy actually takes a vibrational reading of this client, of this entity, and stores it into that client record. So what does all that mean? All of that is essentially, again, creating a very distinct quantum entanglement with this client so that Healy has the ability to weed out every other human signature out there. Because where are we working? With the blue dot, we're working in the information field. What's in the information field? Everything. Everything. There's nothing missing there. So every one of us, including every plant, animal, solar system, planetary influence, every bit of information is in that information field. So by putting this information into our client record, now we're weeding it out to only be you. And this vibrational signal in which Healy is recording, it's asking you to put the Healy in your hand and record this identification. This frequency or this signal, it's a signature that the quantum sensor collects of you and puts into your client record. It's a very distinct vibration. And we get a lot of questions, well, how often do I need to redo that signature? Well, that's a great question, because how often do you become a new version of you? How often do you change this vibrational coordinates of you? Really, once it's identified, like a genetic blueprint, your skin cell is going to continue to reproduce a skin cell that's likened to you forever, right? Forever. So in other words, this recording is going to be likened to you forever, because it is literally a imprint above your genetic code. Okay. So now this is pretty much set in stone. Now your picture may change, right? Because if you recorded it 10 years ago, maybe you look younger today because of what you've been doing, right? So take a new picture. Maybe you've colored your hair. I do this all the time. You're going to see a different picture of you. So that you can change at will, but the other pieces, when you were born, where you were born, these kind of things really don't need to be changed, nor does this vibrational signature need to be changed. You may be identified by your outside world differently than what's on your birth certificate. So names, right? If you change some aspect of yourself and now you've changed your name and you're identified in a different way from the outside world, yes, definitely change those things. But this vibrational signature, it's a coordinates, a GPS signal of you that's quantum, right? It's beyond your name and everything else. Okay, there you go.
Great, great. Thank you, Ken.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, we got we talked a little bit about this next question already, but how to troubleshoot connection issues, whether it's Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, cellular, VPN. And you know what? It's there's a process that you can do. A lot of times, of course, rather than try a million different things, a simple thing you can try is just to turn off the Bluetooth on your actual smart device. Shut down your device, turn your device back on, turn your Bluetooth back on, and then reconnect to the app and see if that fixes the issue that you had. And the important part there is turning your device off and turning it back on. I mean, that's not the only important part, but I don't know how many of us, I'm guilty of this. I'll go a month or more without ever turning off my phone. And it's a healthy thing to do for the device to have it just reset for a period of time. Ken, I know you talk about this a lot on our Tech Tip Tuesday, but how often do you turn off your smart device?
Yeah, I do it at least once a day. At least
Oh wow,
once a
okay.
day. Yeah, I know most people don't, right? But
Yeah.
I understand what's happening in the background and the accumulation of data, fragmented data, by the way, within that CPU and the memory allocation. There's fragmented data, meaning that some apps can step on top of the other apps in terms of how they access parts of your smart device. So it's very, very good idea, a good practice to shut it down completely every day.
Yep. And then that will fix a lot of the Bluetooth issues that you might be having. And then as far as the connection, our Healy device relies on a lot of external factors, whether it's your home Wi-Fi network, the cellular, do you live in the city, you live somewhere remote where you don't have 5G or 4G, maybe you have 3G. So there's a lot of differences there. And just because, and depending on what you're trying to do, whether you're trying to sync a huge database in your Analyze app, that kind of thing, the amount of time it can take one person to sync versus another there's a huge range there. And it's important. Just because you think maybe your Wi-Fi is faster than the cellular, say it's going really slow, maybe switch from one to the other and see, because you might look on your phone. We talked about this on Tuesday, on Tech Tip Tuesday. You might see that you have a full connection with your Wi-Fi, but that's the connection to the router, not necessarily the connection to the source of the internet itself.
Exactly. So that little fan array at the top of your screen, you might have one dot or all of the dots, the whole fan nice and colored in, meaning what that means is that the wireless connection between this smart device and the source in which that signal is being measured, which is the router, means that there's radio transmission between those two. It doesn't mean that there's any internet access at the router. The router could be completely disconnected from, say, the internet, and you'll still get that full fan. So in other words, when you go to try to, say, surf the web, open a web page somewhere, it'll say, server not found, it'll say whatever. This means that the information being transmitted on that radio signal between the router and your smart device, there's just no access to the internet. So just know that little fan doesn't always mean you've got full signal or full ability to transmit data. Your cellular data, though, on the other hand, as long as you're, again, within good service, you're not out in the middle of the woods somewhere where there's no cell service, that's going to give you probably good data transfer. We're looking at data transfer, whatever modality data transfer is happening, Wi-Fi or cellular network. Those are the two. Okay. Now understand too, once you've got your apps loaded on your smart device, you have initiated all the programs, you've created a client record within the blue dot, you've got all your programs on the pink dot, and there's no more need to access the internet unless it's time for you to update something. So you can be in the middle of nowhere, and just as long as you've got a Bluetooth signal between your smart device and the Healy hardware, you can use the program in its 100% functionality, because Healy does not rely on the internet to send information back and forth to your body. It just uses the program material within the app itself, and that lives on your phone or your smart device. All right.
Yeah. One last thing on the connection issues, if you're having trouble, if you're using a VPN, it's going to cause some issues with the Analyze app specifically. So if you're having trouble syncing, whatever, try turning off that VPN, because most of the times that is the cause for some sort of issue not being able to sync properly or connect there. So if you haven't been having that issue, just keep that in mind there too. Okay. So that brings us to number 10. We're a little bit over time here, but we're going to finish up here because this is, again, very, very helpful information as far as these resources that are available to everybody. Just want to make sure that everyone is aware of how to access them and what's available there. So first of all, of course, we have this call, Healy for Beginners and Beyond. Typically, we do this once a month now whenever there's new content. Just looking at the questions in the chat here, Ken, I feel like we have a good idea of what we might want to cover on the next one. Definitely want to analyze that questions for sure. And again, that Analyze app is a massive, it's such a powerful app. So you can really spend a whole call just talking about certain things available within that. But we're going to finish up just with some of these resources. We have this call. Again, we post the agenda for this call a few days in advance on all of our social media, Telegram page, some of our WhatsApp groups too. We talk about it on Tech Tip Tuesday and What's Up Wednesday. But again, we've been referring to Tech Tip Tuesday throughout this call. That's every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Ken Close and I are both on that call as well. And that one's a chat-based call where we've had a lot of questions in this chat. If we didn't get to these questions today, come join us on Tuesday. Put those questions in the chat, and that one's completely chat-based. So we don't have an agenda. The agenda is what people are asking in the chat on that call. And you can join that call, but it's going to HealyTTT.com. Take you right to our Zoom call on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then the recordings of all these calls. So this is something, I'm not sharing my screen for this part, but on our YouTube page, HealyAmericas.com, we have, I gotta move this window to get.
While he's pulling that up, guys, I just want to tell a quick little answer of a couple of questions there. People asked when I was mentioned about the recording of the signal or the vibration within the Blue Dot app for the client record. Folks are asking about how does that pertain to remote clients? Again, intention is the biggest thing. When you have the Healy in your hand, the last piece of that client record is this vibration. However, if it's remote, if you're not local with somebody, and you still want to do this work, you can simply put the intention of that individual in your mind. They put their attention on the Healy and still record that vibrational signal. This is an intelligence beyond some of our own ability to fathom what's possible. There's an intelligence, and quantum entanglement doesn't require, being blood brothers. It doesn't require even a handshake. It doesn't require any physical, tangible interface. Where we place our attention is where we place our energy. And again, energy is the fundamental medium in which Healy operates. Okay, so we'll continue on.
Yep. Okay, so this is our Healy World Americas page on YouTube. Again, you can get to it directly by going to HealyAmericas.com, but all the recordings for these tech calls and also our What's Up Wednesdays are here. You'll see the newest videos are available here, but if you go to the playlist, we also have some support center tips that we post in here from time to time that our team makes, which are excellent. And let's just go to Healy for Beginners and Beyond. So these are the ones that we've done recently. This is actually the first one for the year that we've had here. But if you click on the video itself, and then in the description, you click on Show More, it'll take you right to the topic that we were talking about at that time. So it's hyperlinked. So if there's only one little section that you wanted to catch or review, it's very easy to go to that particular section. Even easier, not easier, but our Tech Tip Tuesday calls, every single question, again, we mentioned earlier, I think we've answered over 700 questions last year. But if you go to that, here's one from January 31st. The one from this week will be added by tomorrow. But if you click Show More, you'll see here, every question that we talked about on that call is indexed here. So it's super easy to, we of course like to have as many people join us live because you get the ability to ask your questions in the chat and we can answer them there. But if you can't make the call live, you can go back and just review this and say, okay, I know this. Oh, I don't know this. I'll just click on this. I'll click on this, and it takes you right to it, that particular section. And if you want to share it, say there's one common question with everybody on your team, and they're like, okay, I want everybody to know why there's no duration times for MagHealy atmosphere programs. You can click on it, click copy link address, paste that to everybody on your team, and when they click on it, it'll take them right to that segment. They don't need to watch the whole hour-long call there. So this is a great resource. And then if you have not yet, it's best to subscribe to this channel. That way, anytime subscribe and enable notifications for this channel. That way, anytime we do a new call, you'll be notified that there's a new video available to view here. So this is one of the great resources we have for these tech calls. And then Academy. So if you haven't been to Academy yet, you need to go. Academy.healy.world. And specifically, if you're brand new to Healy or haven't watched these videos yet, anybody, these have been added. Actually, new ones have been added over time, but about 2 months ago, these were launched, and they're excellent. They're all specifically with the new Healy 2 app. And if somebody was brand new, I would have them watch this whole series of videos, then turn their device on, and they're going to have a very smooth and simple experience getting to use their Healy for the first time, because it explains everything, what the lights mean, where to place everything, how it's determining what frequencies to use, all the different features available, the info center, the troubleshooting that we just talked about, some of the Bluetooth troubleshooting and everything like that. These are amazing, amazing videos. So check them out. And then you can go deeper. You can go into the MagHealy. There's a lot of videos specifically on how to operate the MagHealy, the coach modules as well. So there's a ton of videos available here. There's been new content added over time here. So, join us on these calls, check out Academy, check out our recordings on YouTube. We also have our official Healy Help Center, which I'm gonna go to here. So this is basically our FAQ page. So anything from hardware issues to connection issues, but also non-tech related stuff too, promotions, bonus, organization, that kind of stuff. So you can either click, directly on one of the topics. So just click on Healy Coil, and you can kind of easily scroll through these answers. It's very user friendly. And then let's say you didn't find what you want here, you can also just type in something. Let's just type in, I don't know, wristbands, and it'll pull up some of the results that may have that in it. Or let's just do Bluetooth that we were talking about earlier. There's a ton of questions here that have Bluetooth either in the question subject or in the answer itself. So easy to sort through. And let's just click on this one here just to show you what it looks like. You can let us know if it was helpful or not, which is great. And then last resort, say you can't get your answer, you can't find your answer anywhere, just go ahead and click on contact support. So this is where you put in a support ticket. Say you can't find your answer here, you need help with something, maybe it's an account change that you need to do, something like that. You pick a topic, we'll just pick hardware, and then a subtopic. Let's click Healy Coil. And let's say you were wondering, one of the common questions we have, does the Healy Coil interfere with pacemakers? That's one of the top things that is answered in the manual, as far as the Healy app manual. But let's just say you were going to come here, I can't find the answer. Oh, here it is. It recommends the most common questions related to these topics and subtopics. So, okay, maybe rather than having to put in your request here, you can just click on, okay, what about people with pacemakers? And then it opens up in a new window, says there's no contraindication, therefore the Healy Coil can be used. Great, okay, no need to put in a ticket. But let's just say that wasn't the case, your question was something else about the coil, maybe about the functionality, something like that. In that case, I can't see here. I'll go back to the new ticket. So we're going to go here. You put in the subject of your request and description, and then you can also upload an attachment in JPEG, PNG, PDF, or video format up to 20 megabytes. So you put that in, click submit, it'll be routed to the appropriate department, whether it's tech or customer care or whatever the necessary part to get you help. And then our team will reply to that ticket. You'll get a response via email. You'll be notified that there was a reply in your ticket, and you can either go back into the support center to reply. If you have the ability to do that, we always recommend that. But you also have the ability now to reply to that ticket just via email without going back into the support center. So that's something new that we actually haven't really announced yet, but I just said it now also. But it's easy. It's an easy way to do it. It's easier to reply via email than have to go into the support center. But for certain things, it's also great to be able to go into here, into your support center. And then you can also go and see your list of tickets here. This is a test account that we have, but you can just kind of see, and if you click on one of them, let's just click on this one here. It'll bring up the history of that particular ticket, and then you can put a reply. And this one was already closed out, but it just kind of goes through these steps here. So, and let's see what. So we have the Academy, we have the Help Center, we have our YouTube page, we have Tech Tip Tuesday, What's Up Wednesday. Join our Facebook group, our Healy World Americas page on Facebook group. We post some great content there as well. And our Telegram page, Team Healy USA on Telegram. We usually put all the announcements about our calls on that page too. So if you haven't joined that, go ahead and join that group as well. And of course, these are more sort of localized for the Americas, but of course, join all the Healy World official accounts, the global accounts, the Instagram pages, the Facebook pages as well, the YouTube page, the Healy World official page on YouTube as well. So I think that's it, Ken. We didn't get it done in an hour. I got an hour and 22 minutes, but we wanted to cover all this information because we want everyone to be able to know all this and then share it with everyone on your team too, to help improve everyone's Healy experience and make it as easy as possible to use.
I think that trying to fit all this in 1 hour is a great task, a great intention. I just put the link in the chat for the Telegram group. For those of you that are on a PC, you can click on the 3 little dots down there in the chat area next to the smiley face icon, and it'll give you the opportunity to save the chat on your PC. Unfortunately, if you're on a smart device right now, you can't really save it from that link. But at the end of the call, it'll pop up with an option for you guys to be able to save that. One quick little lightning round thing I want to clear up. That was one of the things about copying the chat. And the other one was that what time of day? I love this question. What people ask this to me often. What time of day should I run programs or should I do these things? So I want to put it in terms of your suggestibility. So in other words, when you're the most suggestible, in other words, the most lenient with yourself, the most willing to surrender and open, that's the time in which you want to do any kind of self-healing, no matter what it is. Because if you are resistant to an idea, if you're angry with life, if you're just frustrated with the moment, then no matter what you do, it's going to be limited into its effectiveness on this body. So find a time in the day or in your life in which you feel the most relaxed, the most receptive, and allow that to be the times in which you do the most healing. All right, guys.
Yeah. Oh, and one correction. There was some confusion over the Healy World Americas link. It's actually just HealyAmericas.com. The YouTube page is called Healy World Americas, but to get to that YouTube page directly, you just go to HealyAmericas.com. You can also get to it by just going to YouTube and searching for Healy World Americas. It'll take you there too.
There you go. All right, guys. Right. Thanks, Jake. That was fun.
Thank you, Ken. And thank you, Anthony, for helping out in the chat. We greatly appreciate that. That's one of the benefits too of joining our tech calls, that we have someone from our tech support team answering questions on that chat as well. So thank you, everyone. Again, this recording will be available on our YouTube page at HealyAmericas.com probably by early next week. But yes, and keep up. We'll be sure to notify you of when our next Healy for Beginners and Beyond will take place. But in the meantime, join us on Tech Tip Tuesday next week. And any of these questions that we couldn't cover today, we'll see how many we can get answered on that call. So thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys. Thanks, everybody.